And we are back for another episode of Pack Sports Zone. I'm your host, Peter Pac-Man Clark, aka the Sports God, and we are back for talk more football, and let's just kick it right in. We're going to have a pretty short show today. Want to keep you guys' attention, so trying to keep these shows short for you, but let's just start right into football. Let's talk about the game previous couple of weeks ago, actually. Talk about the Thanksgiving game with the New York Giants and the Dallas Cowboys. The Giants lose that game 28-20, dropped to 7-4. They didn't run the ball well. Jones was his usual, pretty much average self. Slayton was really the only wide receiver that showed up. Not that they really have much good wide receivers right now, as Galladay just is playing like trash. He's playing like garbage right now. And obviously Wan'Dale Robinson is out. Shepard's out. So they don't really have much wide receivers to really play right now, but Slayton did show up. He at least played a little bit. He played pretty well. But the team overall, just bad decisions, going for it on your own 40-yard line, just pretty much giving the Cowboys the ball right back right there. And their secondary is just injury riddled right now. They were torched by CeeDee Lamb, who had 6 catches for 106. Almost had more than that. He had a great touchdown that was called back that, barely his foot did land out of bounds, so that got called back. Michael Gallup had 5 for 63, but he had a lot of strong contested catches. Most of them were in the first half. And now the Giants move on to play the Commanders at 1:00 at home this week. It's one of those games where whoever loses this game then has to start looking about making sure they can find a way to get in the playoffs, because right now in the NFC, it's surprising. Before the year started, everybody said AFC West and NFC West are the two strong divisions. You got obviously the 4 quarterbacks that they talked about with Mahomes, Herbert, Carr, and everybody that's out there with Wilson. And then you switch over to the NFC and you had the strong 49ers. You had the strong Cardinals that people were talking about. Seattle is surprising people. You have the Rams, who are the defending champions. So everybody said the West are going to be the teams those are the divisions, those two divisions. And it turns out the two strongest divisions are both in the East, the AFC and the NFC East. Nobody has a team that's under 500 right now. All 8 teams have a chance to make the playoffs. All 8 teams are within a game of the playoffs, are in the playoffs. And you look at this NFC East right now, and Seattle is the team, obviously, to look as the closest one to knock one of them out. But they're going to have to play against each other a lot in these next few games. You got 2 games with New York and Philadelphia, 2 games with New York and Washington. You got all these games that are within division, and they're going to start to come back to normal a little bit. So with that said, you got to start thinking about these games where Giants are not expected to continue at this pace to be at the top of the NFC East. And Washington has been playing well, but they don't expect them to catch Dallas or catch the Eagles. So the loser of these 2 games that they play against each other is going to have a big disadvantage in terms of making the playoffs. So this is going to be that first game at home. You got to find a way to defend your home, as the Commanders will be coming in. They're playing well. You're gonna have big person. You gotta have to stop is scary Terry McLaurin, who has been playing very well since Heineke has been installed as the starting quarterback for Washington. And like I said, the cornerbacks in the secondary is really banged up for the Giants right now. So I can see him having a big game. So it's one of those weeks where you really, really got to pay attention and really try to lock down and play well on offense. That's the big thing. I know Washington does have a good defense, but you got to get Saquon more involved. You got to get him the ball in space, whether you pass it to him. He's not running the ball. He's not getting too much space to really run the ball well right now. The offensive line is really hurt. They played either a couple games ago, they played with pretty much one starter. So they got to get things changed up and get things back to normal, because they don't want this situation to get out of hand and for everything to slip away from them. The Giants, as I said, I think when it's all said and done, they'll probably be about 10-7. So that's another 3-3 the rest of the way. Is that enough to make the playoffs? I can say it's probably going to be borderline. So either 10-7 or 11-6 is probably what it's going to take to make the playoffs. So it's going to be right on that line on whether they can do it. But moving across to the New York Jets, they played against the Chicago Bears this week. Had a big win, 31-10. They improved to 7-4, and they are currently in the last playoff spot. Mike White replacing Zach Wilson. 315 yards, 3 touchdowns. The offense looked much better. It flowed much smoother. And despite Michael Carter getting hurt during this game, and he may miss a week or maybe even two, Zonovan Knight came in, filled in for him, had 14 carries for 69 yards. So, that was still, the running game was still at least a threat. Garrett Wilson is starting to become a star now. He had 5 catches for 95 yards and 2 touchdowns. And when you start looking around the league, I tell people now is that it's not about running backs. It obviously is about quarterbacks. That's the number one thing. But the thing you have to get these quarterbacks, and you can see this perfectly with the Los Angeles Chargers, you got to get them some wide receivers. You got to get them some stud wide receivers that are going to win matchups one-on-one. And perfect example is Justin Herbert with the Chargers. When Keenan Allen, Mike Williams are out, he played very pedestrian. He even played average. But when he got Keenan Allen back, you can see he's starting to wake up. When he finally gets Mike Williams back, then he's going to look like a top 5 quarterback like he did last year. So you need to get these guys star wide receiver, star weapons to get the ball to, because it's a passing game. So you got to have people that right now in the league, the passing opens up the run. Not before 20 years ago, the run used to open up the pass. So you got to be able to get star wide receivers out there. And the Jets this week play against the Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota, 1 o'clock our time, and they're a secondary that gives up a lot of yards. So I expect Garrett Wilson to have another big game. They got to feed him. They got to let him open up space. Michael Carter won't be playing this week, so he's got to open up space for Zonovan Knight. And I think the Jets have at least a chance to win this. I mean, Minnesota has played well. I don't think they're unbeatable, but they obviously probably should have lost the game to the Buffalo Bills a couple weeks ago. They got blown out by the Dallas Cowboys at home 40-3 a few weeks ago. So they're not impenetrable. You can get to the Minnesota Vikings, but it's one of those situations where you got to play smart ball and you got to be able to take advantages of turnovers and stuff like that. Right now, Mike White gives the Jets the best chance to win, and that's something you probably wouldn't have thought at the start of the year. I don't think Zach Wilson's going to get the job back as long as Mike White doesn't go crazy and throws 4 interceptions and stuff. And even if he throws it one game, I don't think he'll lose it. If he does it 2 games in a row, then maybe you'll think about it. But I think right now you look at the time that Zach Wilson spent in there, and he's pretty much averaging like 150 yards passing a game. He's not even doing the caretaker role. He's not even managing the game. He's just at the time, he's just handing off the ball to the running back and trying not to lose the game. And he still lost some of those games, like the Patriots game. So, I think the biggest hurdle for him now is trying to get the confidence of his teammates back, as when he pretty much threw the defense under the bus and you start losing the respect of your teammates, that's very hard to come back from, especially as a young player in the league. So I think right now Mike White's going to be given every chance to continue with the job. If he does well, he'll keep the job. And I think eventually in the offseason, the Jets will find a new QB. There's obviously rumors already of Jimmy Garoppolo coming. There's rumors of them trying to trade for another quarterback, but I think I've told you at the start of the year, this team has weapons and the quarterback is the missing piece. You have Bryce Hall when he's healthy coming back next year. You got Corey Davis. Even if you were to let him go, you see over these past couple weeks, they're fine without Corey Davis because Garrett Wilson is a budging star, and you got Mims, even though Mims hasn't been used as much as he should be. You got Barrios. You got people, and you got your 2 tight ends in Conklin and Zuma. You got people that you don't really need anything other than quarterback. The line is good when they're healthy. You just need the quarterback to play well. If the quarterback plays well, the Jets are a team that I said coming into this year, I said they will be probably 9-8. When a lot of people didn't even think they'd be 500, I thought they would be 9-8. And it looks like they may even be better than that. It looks like they can get to 10 wins or 11 wins. And then next year, if they can get a steady quarterback, then you start talking about them being a contender. And that'll be real fun in New York to have Jets and Giants trying to be contenders. And they kind of are this year, but I don't think people believe in them. We'll see how it happens when they make their improvements over the offseason towards next year. Tennessee Titans. another loss when the game matters to Cincinnati Bengals. Where have I heard that before? This game was very similar to the playoff loss last year, where a defense holds the Cincinnati Bengals under 21 points, and the Titans still can't win the game. Despite allowing those just 20 points, the defense didn't really play that great. They missed a lot of tackles. They let Perrine in the second half, mostly in the fourth quarter, kind of run the ball down on them. I don't know if it's because they were tired or what, but it just wasn't a fun game to watch. It was a very frustrating game to watch because anybody that is a Titans fan, they had to have started to see some of the things that happened last year and say, okay, same thing's happening. We can't score. The offense is just punting the ball. It just looked very similar to last year. Derrick Henry stuffed again at the line. Third straight game where he's had a average or below average performance. Only had 17 carries for 38 yards. He did have a big catch where he looked like he was going to score a touchdown. Actually got stripped at the 5-yard line. And Treylon Burks, the rookie, hustling down to grab it into the end zone to get his first touchdown of the season, his first touchdown of his career. He's pretty much the shining light of the past couple weeks, is that Treylon Burks is now showing that he's a legit good wide receiver that will be a starter for them for years to come. He had 4 catches for 70 yards and that recovered touchdown for his first NFL touchdown. And now the Titans will go to Philly to see their old friend A.J. Brown at 1:00 on Sunday. And I could tell you, from being on social media and seeing the back and forth between A.J. Brown and seeing the fans from Tennessee, this one's going to be crazy. And I'm sure A.J. Brown is friends with a lot of people in the locker room, so that won't be a problem. Shouldn't be any fights or anything like that. But if you go on social media or go on Twitter during this game, there's going to be a lot of insults being directed from Titans fans to A.J. Brown because they can't seem to get over it. And they blame it saying that is A.J. Brown kind of needing that. I mean, he admits to that. He said part of it is his fault. But overall, the Titans fans got to just say, you know what? It's over. He's gone now. He's been traded. It's a situation that I think was a bad trade by the Tennessee Titans, but they did it, and he's gone. And now it's just going to be just joking on Twitter. But I think Titans fans are taking it a little bit too serious. I do think the Eagles will win that game. I think they're a better team. I think they're one of the best teams in the NFC. Titans are known for stepping up in those type of games and winning those games, but I just don't see it this year with the offense. The offense just isn't playing well enough. So we'll see what happens with that game. But moving on to basketball, the Brooklyn Nets are now finally over 500 at 12-11 after winning their last 3 games. All of them were at home, and they're in the middle of their 7-game home streak homestand that I mentioned last week. And that continues with a game against Toronto tonight. The team is shooting better. I said they did start waking up from shooting last week, and they continue to start shooting better. They're playing a little bit faster, which is good because their pace has been really slow. So they're starting to play a little bit faster, but they're still getting destroyed on boards. They need to find, at the trade deadline, they need to find a center to come in there and control the boards, control the defensive end. I don't know where they're going to get it from, but that's something they really got to use. And especially on the offensive side is where they only have 7 offensive rebounds per game. That's kind of ridiculous. So, Simmons right now, he's hurt. He seemed like he was starting to wake up a little bit. I remember saying last week he was at one point during a 4-game stretch, he was averaging like 15 points per game. But now he's going to be out for probably about a week with a knee strain. So, they can't seem to get things together right now for the Nets, but they got to figure something out because the season has gone on the way. We're already 30 something games into the season. So we're pretty close. We're about 2 weeks away from the halfway point in the season. So if you don't have things straightened out by now, you better get it straightened out. So the Nets right now, they're starting to get a little healthy. They get TJ Warren back. He's a guy that is instant scoring off the bench. But he gets hurt a lot. He gets hurt a very lot. With every team he's been a scorer off the bench, but he gets hurt. So he should be able to take some of the load off Durant and Kyrie in terms of scoring. And hopefully he stays healthy. That'll help the Nets. But they gotta find some way to get some kind of rebounding because you just can't depend that you're going to make every shot. And like I said, on the offensive end, offensive rebounds a game is kind of ridiculous. Moving on to the New York Knicks, they are under 500 as they're 10-11, and that's because they've lost 5 of their last 7 games. The next 3 are at home against the Mavs tomorrow night, Saturday, against the Cavs on Sunday, and then the Hawks on Wednesday. So they do have a little bit of a homestand coming up where they could try to get things straightened out. Desperately need shooting. That's the biggest thing for the Knicks right now. They're ranked 30th in the league in terms of shooting percentage from 3-point range. You look at and that's what the league is. I mean, whether you're an old school guy and you don't like it, you just got to deal with it. Every team shoots threes. Every team shoots a lot of threes. And if you don't I'll give you a perfect example. The Chicago Bulls last year, were a team that didn't shoot much threes, and they were very good from 2-point range. I mean, they obviously had the mid-range assassin DeMar DeRozan, who always shoots over 50% from the field because he's always shooting twos and shooting mid-range shots. But you can't win that way. They started out well, then they started to die off at the end of the year. It's too easy for teams that can shoot threes to make a couple threes and make up for you having to score 3-4 times off 2-pointers. So the Knicks right now, you have Brunson, who's not really a great 3-point shooter. You got Randall, who takes too many threes, and he's not a good 3-point shooter. You got Barrett, RJ Barrett, he drives the ball because he's not really a good 3-point shooter. And that's the problem with the Knicks right now. You need somebody to open it up. If you're going to have, Mitchell Robinson has been back for the past week, so you have your big man in Mitchell Robinson for defense and some boards. You have Randall, who also can give you boards underneath. And you have RJ Barrett and you have Brunson as one of the wings and one as your point guards, but you need the other guy on the court to space the court. If you have somebody to space the court, it makes it easier for Randall. It makes it easier for Brunson. It makes it easier for Barrett, because if you don't have somebody to space the court, go and look at some of the games where you saw LeBron James first go to the Cleveland Cavaliers when they didn't know what to do. When he first went to play with Miami Heat in 2011. It wasn't pretty. They won because they were super talented, but it wasn't pretty. The spacing was horrible. They couldn't shoot, and it's probably one of the reasons why they couldn't beat the Dallas Mavericks, who were a good 3-point shooting team in the NBA Finals that year. They finally figured out some of their spacing. They added some 3-point shooters, and then they won their championship, and the rest is history. But you gotta have spacing, and that's a problem. And as a Chicago Bulls fan, I said the same thing with them. They need spacing also. They need spacing, and they need a big man. So the Bulls need a lot. But the Knicks, as crazy as it sounds, the Knicks are in a better position than the Bulls are, because the Bulls need a power forward next to Vucevic who can be a dominant defensive guy and a rebounder. And then you need a backup wing for when Zach LaVine and when DeMar go on the bench that can shoot threes. The Knicks just need a 3-point shooter. They're good on rebounding because of Mitchell Robinson, because of Randall, and they have good sizable team. They're good on rebounding. They need shooting. They need to be able to spread the court. So if the Knicks can find a way to get some shooting, I'll tell you the honest truth, the Nets and the Knicks would make perfect trade partners, because the Knicks need one of those Nets 3-point shooters and the Nets need one of the Knicks big men. So it would actually be a perfect match made in heaven. Although you don't really see much trades between two teams within the same city, same division, same state, whatever. So I don't expect that to happen, but it would make a lot of sense. Moving on to the last part that I want to get to before we end the show early today. USA Soccer. Listen, I was really upset after that first game against Wales because they took their foot off the pedal, but they have made up for it. They had to draw with England, and now they found a way to win the game that they had to win against Iran. And now they will be playing the Netherlands tomorrow a.m. at 10 o'clock. So it'll be an early game. I hope everybody does get up and watch it, because listen, they're playing their hearts out for you. You can tell they're really playing with heart. Pulisic scored the goal last game, and he pretty much gave up his whole body as he threw his body into the goal, knowing that he was going to get hit, and scored the goal, was the game-winning goal. They won 1-0, and that's how they advanced to this round. If they win, then they would play the winner of Argentina and Australia. They're also on the same side of the bracket as Brazil, so let's not get too crazy thinking they can get to the semis or get to the finals. But the point is, they've already accomplished something by getting to this round. There was a lot of teams that got upset, whether it was Germany, whether it's Belgium. There's teams that you didn't expect to make it here that make it, Morocco and Australia and Japan and South Korea. So this has been a really crazy World Cup in terms of a lot of upsets, probably more upsets than you normally would see. But with that, I think they have a solid chance to beat Netherlands. The big thing is they're going to have to score 2 goals. They can't go with just 1 goal and play defense, and they have to be aggressive. So they got to find some way to get that second goal to put some type of pressure on Netherlands, whether it's 2-0 early lead, whether it's 2-1 and they try to hold on late. I think they need that second goal. I don't think 1 goal will be enough. I think if they stay with 1 goal, they'll be heartbroken when the whole game is over. Probably a 2-1 loss or lose extra time or something like that. But I think they have to find some way to get 2 goals if they want to legitimately say that they can win this game against the Netherlands. So, as I said, that game will be tomorrow at 10 a.m. From Fox. So hopefully everybody turns on and supports the United States in that game. But with that said, that'll do it for this week of Pack Sports Zone. I will be with you next week to talk about what happened in that U.S. game and see if they were able to pull that upset over 8th ranked Netherlands. Obviously, I'll be talking again about Knicks and Nets basketball and talk about your usual NFL football. As we're getting closer to the end of the season. We're up to week 13, so we're closing in on that last quarter of the season. Teams are going to have to make their moves to get a playoff spot. And with all the injuries around the league, that's definitely not going to be easy to do. But I'm your host, the Sports God. I'll catch you on Pack Sports Zone next week. Peace out.